Okay, so we are live. This is day three of the cryptocurrency crash course. And the first day we talk about the evolution of the internet and then how the internet has actually changed many facets of life, from communication to entertainment to education and then finance, and then the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And yesterday we had a brief introduction into Bitcoin. Then we saw Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency, and we saw some of the attributes that a certain commodity or thing is to possess to be qualified to be called or used as a currency. So today we'll be talking about Bitcoin, talking about the technology, and then we'll be talking about some of the use cases of of the Bitcoin technology and all that. So we've seen some of the examples of Bitcoin as a transaction and all that, and everything that can actually happen with Bitcoin and all that. So what is Bitcoin? They call it a new internet money, right? Good. Another thing again, they call it a peer-to-peer internet currency that allows decentralized transfer of value between individuals and businesses. So with the Bitcoin, you don't need a bank, you don't need any institution to actually validate if that transaction is actually true or not. So when you are sending money from James to Peter, you don't have to say, wait, how do I know that James actually received the money that Peter sent to him? With Bitcoin, everything is digital. And then Bitcoin is a system, but we'll explain that. And then creating the currency from scratch. What actually happened? What were the motivation? Things like the distrust of the financial institutions and all that. We can be explaining the origin of banks, how the banks work, the banking conspiracy, why bankers work for for banks but don't trust the banks, how the banks are actually, well, we could be talking about some other stuff and all that. And then there are other concerns that people could be talking about, is the issues of transaction security. How do I know that this money I'm actually sending gets to the person that it's meant to get to, that it's not snooped on the way? And then the issues of double spending. So double spending, I'll use a very, very cool scenario to actually explain this to you so that you can actually understand. So let's say, for example, this is my laptop, for example, now. Let's say this is money, right? So let's say this is money. Now, your normal internet file, for example, if we go on Google, let's just type something that is random. Let's say this is money. So this file now everybody can actually get access. Let's say this is money. Everybody can actually get access to this file, right? This is a digital file, an image. So we could save it, we could send it to someone else, and then it could be distributed all around the world. Now, there is one problem that actually happens with the internet, is the issue of plagiarism. So you put a file on your system now, you don't know who gets access to your file, and you don't know what they do with your file. So the question that is not asked is, that is why I brought this this file. That supposing this file is money, how do I send this file to Mr. A, and then not also send that same money, like, because it can be copied, right? I can just click copy and it's copied, and I can send it to as many people as possible. But if it is to be money, I cannot send that same money, because digital now, from one person to another. So that is one of the things that you have to put in consideration when you are talking about cryptocurrency. So people call it the double spending problem, or the replay problem. So like you are taking one commodity and distributing it to different persons. And then we'll talk about the times. We'll talk about timestamp and how it can actually work. And then depending on Bitcoin, how it actually work. How users can actually create accounts, called wallets, and then using private keys and all that. So I'll pick this image, and then sorry, this is my writing. I was just using it to actually show someone about cryptocurrency and how everything works. So what are some of the use cases of blockchain and then Bitcoin? So bringing Bitcoin, for example, if Bitcoin is to avoid the issues of transactional security, and then the issues of double spending, and there are many other issues that in the economics we actually consider and all that. There are certain protocols or algorithms to which we are to build Bitcoin. So we're not to build Bitcoin to be something like a Microsoft document or an image file that can be copied on the internet like that. So it has to be a system first. It has to be finite, and then when we are moving it from one part or from one person to another person, we have to define who can move money and all that. So there is a technology that Bitcoin actually built upon. And that technology is what they call the blockchain technology. So you can see the blockchain technology. So I will try as much as possible to explain blockchain technology with blocks in Nigeria. Okay, so I want to explain this in a simple scenario, what blockchain looks like. Then I will use a Microsoft a spreadsheet to actually explain it also. So let's take for example that we this is a ledger, for example. This is a ledger now, and we are to enter name, age, whatever parameters. JJJ. I know that this is just something that is random. Then this is 1. And then we can spread it for as many people as possible, and then the list can actually go on and on and on and on and on. So this is 1 again. So this is supposing this is for a group of persons. So this is 1 block or a certain parameter or data or whatsoever. We take this information, we input the information, and then we have another block again. And then there's a blockchain. So maybe you don't understand that explanation. I know you will not understand that explanation. Let me use this example. So this is a block, for example. And if you want to build a house, those who are building houses know fully well that these are individual blocks, right? And these individual blocks cannot actually build a house and all that. So what actually happens? You take this block, and then if you just stack this block like this upon each other, it's not going to be solid. Why? Because someone can come and then take it away, right? But what about if we have these blocks like this, and then before we could put this upon this, we put something called, we all know, which is called like the cement, and then maybe they miss it or whatsoever. Those who know about this stuff can actually know. And then before you add this block to this other block, you have to still repeat that same process, and then the process goes on and on and on, and then you can have a very, very firm building. So in cryptocurrencies, the technology is built in such a way that there is cryptography. So the cryptography uses what they call timestamp and then hash. So the timestamp basically, okay, this is when something was done. So it's like you have a stamp that attributes time and say, okay, this block was added to this block or something happened within this time, and then we can actually verify that this is when this and this actually happened. And then hash is basically we're assigning a computer hash has to do with a computer generated identity that is unique for a particular transaction. Now, one thing that makes it very amazing is this: in blockchain, it does not actually have to do with money. Another way you can actually understand blockchain, let me try and explain, is very simple. So let's take, for example, that this is my computer screen. Now you can see maybe my computer screen, for example, and my time here says this is 9:12 p.m. Let's say another event actually happened in 9:13, 9:14, 9:15, and then the list goes on and on. So any transaction, let's say there are transactions that happens let me use this, maybe you could understand it more. So these are different time interval. So any transaction that happens within 9:12, there are certain attributions we are going to give that transaction. We're going to give it a timestamp. So we're going to give it other attributions like who was involved in the transactions. Okay, we moved money from A and B, and this is the time we moved the money, and this is how much we moved, and all that stuffs. And then we're not only going to give bring attribution, we're going to give it a unique identity, which we call the hash. And then we are going to say this is called block 1. So putting all this together, there is a attribution, there is a timestamp, and then there is a hash. We put them, we aggregate all transactions that happen within such a time frame. We aggregate them together into what they call a block. So we are saying this is called block 1. And then the next minute, there are other transactions that actually happen all around the world, but are within the network. We are going to put them in what they call block 2. The same process. There is a timestamp, and then there is a hash. And then there is another one that actually happened 9:14. We put it block 3, and then the list goes on block 4, and then the list continues all and all and all and all. Now, what happens? Just like I explained to you, that if you put these blocks together now, you just stack them up together, just like you can have something like this, but it's not going to be firm. Why? Because someone, let's take for example that this is the first one now is 9:14. This is 9:15. This is 9:16. This is 9:17. I know that. Or let's say this is A. So let's say this is okay. Block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4. Block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4. Now, what makes us, as in, it's very possible that someone is going to change what happened here. So maybe at block 1, maybe someone sent $500. Then at block 2, someone sent $200. At block 3, someone sent $100. Then at block 4, let's pick a random one. Someone sent $130. So what makes it not very possible and easy for someone to change what happened here? So rather than saying this is $500 was sent here, the person can actually change this $500 and put it here. So the person can manipulate from 500 now and say, no, it was actually 200. Then says this was 500. And then say, okay, this is maybe 110. a person can inflate figures or deflate figures and say, okay, this was $90. Why? With this simple thing, it was not submitted. One block was not submitted to another, so you cannot have a very secure building. Now, but in computers or in the digital world, there is something like cement. So what basically happens is that there's what we call cryptography. So you have an encryption, and that encryption has to do with keys. So just like your mobile phone, for example, there could be a lot of files on your mobile phone, and nobody's going to get access to your mobile phone if they don't know the code. So what happens is that you take the block, you secure it with cryptography, and then you chain it. They call it appending. You chain it, just like you know about a chain. Chain like this. So let's say this is block 1, and then this is block 2, and then this is block 3. So what happens is that you take this block with cryptography. This is cryptography now. With cryptography, which is called the cement. So this is our cement now. You take this cement and you chain it to this block. So it makes it practically impossible for someone to try and break this block, to make changes to it. Now, you might be asking, okay, why is it not possible that someone might attempt to break such block? Yeah, there are many ways a person can actually try to attempt to break such block. And that leads us to the question, okay. So in our definition, we said Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer internet currency. So what actually happens is that this is a website, for example, now. And we have what we call the internet, right? So what is the internet? The internet is simply different computers all over the world that are connected together with a set of protocols. So let's take, for example, I have a file and I want the whole world to see the file. And I want, let's say this is my file. So maybe I want the whole world to see this file. There is a way I could project this file to the world. I have to use some some maybe softwares. They have to use some certain programming language like HTML. And then you put other stuffs and all that. And then I have to publish my file. They have to host. I have to make sure that my computer is, or my file is readily available for every person at any place in the world to view my file at any time and all that. So with Bitcoin, we've already put the file there. So how do we now secure the file? Just like the internet came from peer-to-peer, there are people who have their computers or special kind of hardware, and then they connect it to the Bitcoin network. Maybe you don't understand my explanation. Okay, let me try to explain it again. Images are more powerful. Okay, so when we say it's a peer-to-peer system, and this is where I'm saying that just like the internet existed, the internet cannot exist without connected devices like PC, mobile phone, and all that. We take all these connected devices, they are connected one to another via a special software and then via the internet. So let's give a very, very special scenario. So supposing Mr. A sent money to Mr. B, and maybe he wants to send $200. So how does it work? There is no bank, there is no central institution that actually validates if Mr. A actually has the $200 to send to Mr. B. And then there's another issue again is, how do we now validate that the $200 that Mr. A is sending, if Mr. A is the one that actually have the access to that account? So what happens when you want to send your money from your bank to another person's bank? First, the bank have to check if you are the one that is actually sending that money. Secondly, the bank wants to check if you actually have such money in your account. But with the Bitcoin world, there is something like that. So what basically happens, there are currencies, which is called Bitcoin, on the blockchain. They call it blockchain and all that. They're already there. When you want to send money, if you have it in your wallet, you have what there's what called the public key infrastructure. So the public key infrastructure has to do with what they call the private key and then the public key. So with the private key and the public key, it's like a password. Maybe you want to send a message, for example, the Facebook network. You want to send a message from A to B. You cannot access your account if you don't have the password of A, and there is no way B is going to be able to open the message. A person is going to open the message at B except it has the password of B. So there is what called the public key infrastructure that enables a person to move money from one part to another. I will explain the public key infrastructure maybe a few minutes from now. So when you send money from a person to person, there is something that is done. It is called mining. So it's called mining. So the mining is in two forms. So mining is a way where we actually protect the network. Just like I showed you the blocks, that the block you are arranging upon another. How do we now make it so strong? So we will have a cement and other, so that someone cannot come and forge and do all that stuff. Then there's another way of producing new coins. So what basically happens is, supposing A wants to send money to B, any of these guys within the network if A initiates the command to send 200 to Mr. B, he signs that I am sending this money with his private key. Let's, for understanding sake, you can call it a password. And then doing that, he broadcasts such transaction to the whole network. So every person that has internet and has the software and has the hardware receives the message that, hey, A wants to send money to B. So what happens? There is what they call, what I explained to you, the hash. So once everybody in the network is aware of what is about to take place, there is a hash. Now that hash have in it a cryptographic mathematical function that humans cannot solve, but only computers can solve. So they are trying to solve for there's no need of maybe they're trying to solve for a solution, but they call it, some people call it nonsense. Some people call it nonsense. But you don't have to bother about that. So they are trying to solve for a problem. So this problem is, first, let's see what is inside that hash, if it is actually genuine, and let's validate if A actually have that moving to send to B. Then after we validate and say, okay, yeah, he has the money, and he has the keys, the private keys to send the money to B. So the money gets to B now. And then you now have $200 here. So after doing that, the whole process of adding cement to the block now comes in, of which I showed you. So we secure this block. Now you might be asking, how do we now secure this block? After we solve those problems and all the plenty things, there's what called replication. So there's what called replication. So what this replication is, basically, some people call it photocopying, just like when you talk about the hardware and all that, or copy and paste. You just copy it and all that. So this block, we confirm the transaction. Let's say this is block A where Peter sent 200, and then there's another block again. We add block 1 to block 2, and then we confirm block 3, everything that happened within block 3. We add what has happened in block 2 to 3 and all that. We keep adding them together, and when we are adding them, we are replicating this whole block, and then we are sending this block to every person in the network. So maybe you do not actually understand what I'm saying. It's like this file you can see on my screen now. Now, supposing every transaction that's actually happening at every point in time, everybody in the system has the database of it. So it's a worldwide database that is updated every time something actually happens. Now, let's take for example that this is an image. If everybody in this network have the same, because this thing is copied and sent to everybody and everybody can verify and all that. If everybody has the same file, so let me use this. So everybody have this block now, and everybody can confirm that this is what actually happened within the block. And let's take for example that there is this fellow who has something that is different. Maybe he tries to change the block and says, now this is what I have. So the question that is now asked within the network is, how come everybody in the whole network has the same thing? Which is this? Why is it that only you have what is different? Is it that everybody in the network conspired against you? And all that. So that is a very, very simple definition of how the blockchain actually works. So if you want to forge any block, what you are required to do is that you have to break, if maybe you want to change this block 3, what you have to do, you have to break the encryption for block 1. You have to break the encryption for block 2. And then you have to break the encryption for block 3. That is practically impossible. So there is a possibility for you to actually get away with such particular attack on the network. That's what we call the 51% attack. We were explaining that when we're dealing with more on the possible attacks that can actually happen within the cryptocurrency or the blockchain method. But we're focusing more on blockchain. So with this example now, we will not only apply it to money, we can actually apply it to nearly every facet of life and all that. So I come back to this image. So with that now, we can apply it to banking and payments. Yeah. Okay, let me explain that thing again. So with this feature, there comes something they call immutability. That is, you cannot come back and change anything. So it's immutable. And then it's called peer-to-peer. It has to do with person to person. There is no central authority. And then there is decentralization. That is, there is no central body that can actually govern or dictate the rules of one thing or the other. So we can apply this stuff to banking. We can apply this stuff to payments. We can apply this stuff to cybersecurity, as you can see here. And then you can apply this stuff to supply chain management. So I want to talk about the supply chain management. So what is supply? Then what is chain? Then what is management? It's very, very simple. Supply chain management is everything that basically happens from when goods, everything that happens between the producer to the consumer is what we call the supply chain management. So all the process can actually be tracked with the blockchain. Let me give you a very, very quick. Yesterday, I actually scan. So there is something, this timestamp and hash function, I know that makes it very, very easy for us to be able to assign either an address or a hash to whatever. So I want to look into, this is a website, and I want to look into their address. Then I want to see everything that is going on within the website. I want to see how much they are receiving. Then I want to see how money is moving and all that. So I can look into their into their accounts, and then I can see that money actually came from this fellow into their accounts, and this is the value, and then this is the time. I can tell you the exact date, February 26, 2018, 5:19:28 a.m. Then it assigns a transaction hash. And then it tells you the status of the transaction, that it is successful. And then it tells you where you can actually find this transaction, the block, the particular, like I was explaining to you, the particular block. Is it block 1 or block 2? The particular block can actually find this transaction. And then you can, all this we call them attribution. You can say, okay, it is from this individual or from this account to this individual or this account. Then you can see what was actually transferred. Now this is called money. This is money, monetary value. And then it tells you this is the gas limit. This was how much it cost to send the money. Then this is the announce, the verification and all that. Now, let's take for example that we're not dealing with money. That we're dealing with land, for example. So if this is Mr. A and this is Mr. B, for example, Mr. A has a piece of land and then Mr. B has a piece of land. So let's say, for example, in Nigeria, that all the total land mass of the country is mapped out. So everybody brings up their document to the government and says, "Okay, this is my document. I have the legal document. I have my certificate of occupancy. I have all the legal document that is required for me to be called the legal owner of this land." And then the government verifies such claims and says, "Okay, yeah, okay, you have the government, you have the land." Then the government says, "No, this land belongs to the government," and all that. And then they resolve everything. And then they say, "Okay, we are putting these stuffs." So you have block one, this is the land for this person, this is 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 land for this person. And then they take this land, they assign the land to each person, they assign a hash, they assign whatever could be assigned and all that. So if A wants to sell the land that belongs to B, so if A wants to sell the land that belongs to B to C, what C have to do is, C is very simple. It says, "Okay, what is the land?" It says, "This is the land." We're going to assign each land is going to have an account, right? And just like an account number, it's going to have an account. So this is the land that belongs to A. Everybody will simply go for C to actually buy the land. It actually goes to maybe there is a government database that everybody can see on the internet or whatever the place is. It then goes up there and look up the land. It says, "Okay, this is the land." Let's say they assign the land. This is land 212222222. It can go there and see the owner and all that, and says C can tell A, "This land does not belong to you, and this land belongs to someone else." Okay, so it's one of the use. This is something that is actually already in use in a place called Ghana, or a country called Ghana. And you can check this website maybe after now. You can check up the website and maybe look up to one or two things, that, and then see that how this stuff is being. Let's play this video and see.
Doesn't have a reliable land registry. This is a crucial problem. Why invest in property if you can't prove ownership in the event of a dispute? Or what's stopping people from selling land or buildings they don't own? And how do you obtain a loan if you can't be sure of holding on to your real estate? In response to this barrier to development, the nonprofit BitLand is creating a digital registry system based on blockchain technology. This database, which also drives the digital currency Bitcoin, can securely record transactions, together with details like GPS coordinates, satellite photos, or written descriptions. In other words, all that's needed to identify property and keep an undisputable record. 24 communities in Ghana have shown an interest in the project to date. BitLand hopes that the experience will be positive and that it will spread across the country or even throughout Africa.
Okay, so that is a very, very simple one. How a platform like this, the technology can actually be used to help in real estate. Then I talked about supply chain. So everything that actually happens from the producer to the consumer. So what basically happens, you have your mobile phones, for example, and then many of us already know or have already seen a QR code. So with QR code is basically a form of technology that is embedded into products or any stuff. And then with QR code, we can embed any information on that product. So we've had cases of some people producing whatsoever products in their homes or in an unauthorized factory. And then they're going to say, let's say, for example, they are producing pig milk or milk or whatsoever. This says this milk is from such and such company, and they are actually lying. So, but with the blockchain and all that, you can actually see if this meat or this particular product actually belongs to this person and all that. And then the food we actually eat with the blockchain, you can actually take up your phone. There's an application you can actually look into, and then you can be able to scan and see where your food is coming from. You'll be able to know if that food is coming from somebody can change the record. That is how it can actually help in the supply chain. And then the list goes on and on. Then networking and then IoT. So what is IoT? IoT, just like we have the internet, IoT is now saying that let's start connecting more devices to the internet. What is the sole purpose of this? The sole purpose of this is for the relay of data. So let's say, for example, the manufacturers that produces the TV or the fridge or whatever, they want information to know, because it's one thing to produce a commodity and say this commodity has a duration of 2 years, a lifespan of 2 years, or a guarantee of 2 years, and then want to know how this product actually works from time to time. So what basically happens, they implant or embed some devices or whatsoever in these systems, and then these devices relay information to this company and helps this company in the next phase of production and say, okay, this and this was not working properly, this was not working properly. Then they could use such data to make positive choices and all that. And then that is for production of things maybe at home and all that. And then there is something that is actually trending now, the issues of electric cars. There are many European countries that are coming with proposing some laws and saying, okay, this using gasoline or using fuel now is not good for our society. It's actually increasing the carbon footprint on the earth, and we are not creating a society that is very sustainable for the upcoming generations. What do? Let's seek out alternative that is outside petrol. So you have things like cars that are working on electric. So for these cars that are working on electric, there's another invention that is actually coming now with issues like autonomous cars. I think I was watching a video and they were interviewing a Nigerian lady, and they showed her a video and said, mommy, this car is actually driving itself. And they asked the woman if she would be able to enter the car. He said, no, how will I enter a car that nobody's inside? What about if the car drive me into a dish and maybe kill me and all that? So for the person who, now let's give a very quick scenario. This is road A. This is road B. This is road C. And this is road B. If car A has sensors, okay, car 1, car 2, car 3, car 4. So if car 1 drives through road A it has sensors. Those sensors pick up data like the nearest petrol station, if they're using petrol, or picks up data with the traffic condition at that particular point in time. It picks up another data with issues like maybe the temperature within such an environment. Then it picks up maybe other data like restaurants that are within such particular place, depending on how they program these sensors. The last thing again it could pick up is if there are actually maybe potholes, or if it's about to rain, or if it's raining. Just picks general conditions within such amount of place, right? And then B also, and then C also, and then D also. Now all this information that they're actually picking is very useful. At the same time, it's very, very disastrous. So with blockchain, we can ensure the privacy of such information, that unscrupulous individuals do not get access to this information. And then with blockchain, we can actually monetize this information. So the owner of this car can actually sell those data and says, okay, I passed through road A, and road A has, for me to give you the information that my sensor actually took, you have to pay me such amount of money. And they can actually monetize those data, that. And then another way again that blockchain actually help with network